Hello, welcome back to the Mildly Forged Boomers Show podcast thingy-mabobbler, whatever, I don't care. Yeah, I'm Nero, aka Oranforge. I'm joined by Matthew, aka Big Boomer.
Yo.
Yeah, and then joined by Hassan, aka Mildly Creative.
Hello.
And we're joined by Jake Hodgkiss, aka Vulcan.
Hello.
Right, okay, so... Man, this is gonna be a big episode, I won't lie. It's a lot of stuff. Where do we begin, honestly? I'll open it up.
Order, go in order. Why not?
Alright, okay, fine. Esports, lol, XD. Back to square one again.
Literal lol.
Yeah, League of Legends, Worlds, XD. Who do you think we're gonna win, guys? I swear.
I mean, probably.
It's either well for Worlds, it's either
Yeah.
EDG or SKTT1. Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't see it being anybody else. Maybe a Chinese team. Who knows? But
G2
it's
not
one
in
of those-
Worlds? I don't actually know yet. Right.
They will, but to be honest, they haven't won in ages. I don't think.
Yeah. And
A lot of the Korean teams just tend to do better these days. To be
I
honest,
say this as an EU fan, specifically a Fnatic fan. The EU teams aren't looking good, even in like play-ins.
not this time round. Anyway, last year
it's
it was.
pretty bad.
I'm Fnatic like 4-0 at the moment.
They're
Oh, did they
3
lose
and
last
1.
night?
They lost last night. Yeah.
Oh, they lost last night. Okay.
They lost to Loud, by the way, a Brazilian team. You know, from a minor region. So it says much about how us not scrimming is detrimental to us playing at
Quite a
Worlds.
big team, don't they?
No.
Yeah.
The issue is right. Like the Korean teams never won a scrim.
Mm.
They don't like scrimming with teams outside of Korea because they don't get anything out of it. Because compared to them, EU is just less skilled, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And like by scrimming with the EU, they're giving the EU teams an advantage, right? Because they're getting better by playing against their opponents. So
Yeah.
realistically speaking, they have absolutely no reason to agree to scrim, right?
Yeah.
So the only region really that EU can probably scrim against is NA, and well, I don't think I need to talk about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, region-wise,
To be
NA
fair-
is just, like, the
C9's
gulag.
been alright recently.
Yeah. It's just, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Haas, you said your predictions are EDG or T1, or
Yep.
a Chinese team. I'm pretty much gonna say the exact same. It's gonna be, like, DWG or, like, T1 or a Chinese team like EDG. What do you
I'm
think, Matt?
still going G2.
Still going G2, that's
Mega
Yeah,
Good,
fair,
we
man.
don't really see the
Mm.
the Asian teams and the European teams play against each other enough
Yeah.
to know the difference in skill.
To be fair,
But
given the amount of times they have lost, an Asian team has won.
Mm.
Like what? When was the last time a European team won? Like what? 2014.
Worlds, specifically.
Yeah, well, it's obviously,
Well,
but
Yeah,
like
South African
2014.
ages.
No, 2011, my bad. Fnatic.
Was
Yeah.
it 2011?
Literally
Jesus
the only
Christ,
title EU's
yeah.
gotten at Worlds, yeah, Fnatic. But some people
Damn.
argue it doesn't count as a World Championship because the Asian teams weren't there. But, you know,
well, it'll either be Gen G or it'll be G2.
yeah.
It's gonna be one of the two. I don't think
And,
anybody else will.
Jake doesn't
come
watch
close.
League, so looks like you're not missing out much, I won't lie. It's pretty depressing anyway.
So whereabouts are we in Worlds really? Because I've not had a chance to watch myself recently.
We are still in play-ins at the moment. We're in play-ins day 4. As of recording this is the 2nd of October, 2022. So, yeah.
Nice.
And then group stage should be in a few days, I think. Yeah. So, I don't know. We got that to look forward to.
Like these Korean teams versus other Korean teams, yeah, it looks
Yeah.
like there's a skill gap, but you'd never really know. These European teams could be just better prepared for these sort of things. I don't really know, to be honest.
Yeah.
You don't know until it happens.
Just going off like the way that orgs usually work, a lot of people that play on these Korean teams have to be at a specific level in solo queue.
Mm.
Otherwise, they'll get shouted at by their coach or whatever. So like, just before Worlds, you'll see people like Faker, like Ghost, sat there in solo queue, right, testing weird shit, right? To be fair, they all play on like super elo boosted accounts, so they're always in like master and above, right?
Yeah.
But like it's a good way to get your players to like polish their skills, and the better EU players will also do the same. They'll be playing high level solo queue, just like practicing new strats and like
do
talking
new
to
builds and all that
about
with
what they
items.
wanna do.
Yeah. Moving the conversation on. I'm not sure if we talked about this in the past, but do you genuinely think EU and NA are behind? Not just in league in general, but like in esports in general, like behind.
NA
No.
yes, EU less so.
EU dominate. EU dominate like
FPS
CS.
and stuff.
Yeah, like CS,
Counter-Strike,
Valorant.
Yeah. Well, Valorant, meh.
Korea are better at the strategy games, the MOBA, Grand
top-down
Strategy,
sort of thing,
StarCraft, all that kind of
Dota,
stuff,
yeah.
right?
Stuff like
They
that.
are just better at that. That's flat. I mean, the Russians are pretty good at Dota as well, but like comparatively,
the only game that NA dominate is Rocket League.
And
That's pretty
Halo,
much all they do.
pretty much, yeah. Like
Halo
typical
doesn't have
console
much
games.
of a scene.
Yeah.
Halo doesn't really have much of a scene anymore, anyway.
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty much
kind of
dying
been
because of
faded out.
I'd argue though, in terms of countries that are behind in Europe, I don't know. I would say the UK. Weirdly, I don't know why.
Oh, dude, we have like negative pro players. Like I don't think we have.
We literally have
like,
nothing. Yeah, infrastructure-wise, we have nothing.
We have 2 max.
The Valorant scene isn't too bad for UK players.
Well, yeah, you got like Fnatic, Boaster, and Mystic, but Mystic's benched anyway. But like Fnatic's more focused on building an international European roster. If that makes sense.
The best overall, especially in Europe, is probably Denmark. They have like
or Sweden.
Danish players.
Like the Nordic
dominate.
regions of EU definitely have
The
quite
best infrastructure for esports. Yeah, I'd argue. Yeah,
decent amount of German players as well. I've noticed.
Yeah. It's weird if you think about it, how niche being an esports fan is in the UK. It's really niche. Like, God. Like, yeah. Like, it's just such a small community in the UK as well. And, like, we don't even have universities that do, like, esports degrees and stuff. It's kind of ironic, really. Yeah.
I wouldn't want that as a degree, personally, anyway.
Well, yeah, but, like, yeah. I get that, but like trying to compare that to like America and like other European countries.
Here's a degree in being good at League of Legends. It's like that's a fucking such a useless degree.
Yeah. Well, they do a quote unquote gaming degree, but like I know.
Such a useless degree, and I pity anyone who does that degree. I'm sorry. But...
We actually know someone who does, but I'm not going to say his name.
Oh, right, okay. No doxing. All right, nice. Right, yeah. I'd argue. What was I trying to think of? The UK is so behind in esports, and I do genuinely believe personally esports is the future. Like, it's just
depends. It depends. Some of it's dying down.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, you got like football teams like Barca FC that have like League of Legends team in like Superliga, and then fucking Manchester United and City don't have anything like in relation to that. Schalke 04 literally had a spot in the LEC until like last year, so.
Yeah, Schalke. Yeah. I mean, Wolverhampton Wanderers still support Asian team,
and they sponsor Evil Geniuses. It's not much. I'd argue these teams should be doing esports themselves and not through orgs if they really want to like tap into a new market, which has the potential to grow.
Teams.
The problem is, right, it's not easy to make a brand new team, especially with esports, right? Because a lot of the like upper league players are not interested in joining new and upcoming teams for the most part, right?
And they're already in like established teams, yeah, right.
We've seen a few new teams pop up and get a lot of support,
New teams pop up all the time. They just need the players, really.
They just need the players, and a lot of players are unwilling to ditch their paychecks.
A lot of cash,
And like,
it's
you already got
money.
Because you got your established orgs like Fnatic, G2, Liquid, all have like massive infrastructure behind them and funding. And I kind of get that with like
all
UK
you
football
really
teams not
need
doing
is just a main. All you need is a main office and a wad of cash, and you can build an esports team. Like
Yeah.
It's the same
of
with
these.
football teams, like just
Yeah,
IRL,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
You, like,
As long as you've got the stadium and the players.
some billionaire gets bored, buys a football team, imports a bunch of players, and
Yeah.
they win a bunch. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
same scenario, really, right?
If I had a couple million quid tomorrow, I could just buy like an office complex, and I could probably just fucking buy out like Shroud
I mean,
and all these
you've
people
seen.
and
Have
build a
any of
Valorant
you
team.
heard
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Moist Esports? Right, like fucking Most Critical just set up his own esports organization a while ago.
Really?
Like,
Oh, God.
yeah, like he's running it at a loss, but like he makes so much money he doesn't even mind, right?
Yeah.
And like he hosts like he's really into like the Smash Pro League scene.
Yeah.
So he hosts a lot of the Pro Smash tournaments now. It's actually quite cool.
Right. Okay.
And like he's been doing like Rocket League stuff as well, if I remember right.
Right. Putting a temporary wrap on esports. Let's get to the fun topics we were gonna do. So,
Oh,
everyone here hates the Conservatives at this point. Let's be real. Yeah. The next topic is literally Liz Truss and the economy, and subtopic is how to stop another Boris Johnson, which is my nice little legal area. Because but like,
I love how today she admitted to jumping the gun on her fucking budget, right?
Yeah, making
Yeah,
a
yeah.
mistake.
oh,
Because
God.
the market crash we just had is actually entirely her fault.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What moron within like 2 days of being in charge goes, here's a budget I made up. Did you consult every member of your cabinet? No.
No, of course not.
It was literally her and the other dude. He's so unimportant, I forgot his fucking name.
Kwasi Kwateng.
Kwasi.
What,
Yeah,
Kami
Kwateng.
Kwasi. I love
He's
Kami
like-
Kwasi.
Kwateng.
Alistair Campbell's new term I've
Like, and
coined.
just the
yeah.
fact they
Stealing.
acted like they didn't know why the market crashed when it did for a few days. It's just mind-blowing, dude. You announced a drop in taxes, and so, you know, the
Yeah.
value of the currency drops. Fucking duh.
Yeah.
Like,
Come back up now,
They
slightly.
dropped taxes for the top 1% the most as well. That's the piss take.
Come on,
So
Jake, say something.
obviously we have
Yeah.
less money.
Yeah.
People's faith drops in the pound, and pound's value therefore drops because people stop using it as a trade
Yeah, damn,
currency.
it's almost like
It's real wacky, right?
Yeah.
I don't even studied economics and I can see the fucking pattern.
yeah. Okay, like alright, okay. Everyone's
It's
opinion here, Jake.
impressive.
You're awfully quiet again. Okay, we need some
Yeah,
juicy shit.
yeah, I've been reading articles about it. It actually really gets on my nerves because the people who'll take the slack from all these tax cuts, the plebs, just the average working man,
Yeah.
will have to pay for these tax cuts. People who barely have enough money to get by have to pay for these constant tax cuts for Liz Truss's mates.
Yeah.
Why? Why do we accept this every fucking time?
Because
It's
well, you know,
just-
it's what we get for voting in Tories, really. I won't lie. But you know, the
Well,
promise
the
of
thing
Brexit
is-
was incredible.
Over the last like while, like over the last say like 10 years, there's not really been any opposition.
Yeah. Well,
I would argue at the moment that there isn't really that much of a opposition. It's just the fact that quite a lot of people are going towards Labour because it's their only option to get rid of
Literally,
this fucking
yeah.
awful government. Which I agree, we need to probably lean in that direction. I just don't understand their logic behind anything they're doing at the moment. It's just
the Conservatives. Yeah. It's
They're-
very
they-
illogical.
they're giving more money to everyone, so they'll spend it, but yet they don't realise that even if they do spend it, they're only going to get what 20% of that back or something like that in taxes and sort of stuff like that.
And like what these rich billionaires that they're giving tax cuts to, I'm sorry, they're just gonna be Smog from fucking The Hobbit and just hoard all the fucking gold in
But
Erebor. Literally.
we're going to do the exact same because the price of living has gone up. We're not going to be spending it going out in shops and spending
Yeah,
this extra
exactly.
money. It's going to go straight to the fucking to power and like gas and electric and all that sort of stuff. But they could have quite easily have. I would have rather have lost an extra £100 a year or £200 a year by them raising taxes, them getting all of that money and then putting that money into sort of fixing the energy crisis we've currently got going. But in fact, they've just fucked themselves out of more money and then putting us in a worse position as civilians. It's just, I don't
dumb,
understand the logic there. And then to completely write out a windfall tax that a lot of the companies actually approved and said do it because we don't need all this profit. A lot of the companies, Apple, Amazon, they've all said do a windfall tax. They're making huge profits and it'll help the country.
But we need people to spend money so we can actually still do business. Yeah. And by the way, what Liz Truss has done is basically done political suicide. Like, let's be real. She's pretty much lost the next election at this rate. Unless something awful happens.
I don't know if you guys heard about a lot of trust fund people were putting bets on whether the pound would drop in value.
No.
They got a lot of money about it, so the government launched an investigation, I'll put in quotation marks, into whether they got the information early. No, they didn't. They just thought about
your stupid fucking movements.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just really funny that everyone knew this wasn't gonna go well as soon as she got in charge. Yeah. But it's that whole we had two garbage options anyway. Because let's be honest, I don't think Rishi would have done much better anyway. He's probably even more of a moron than she is, right? Just looking at his policies and stuff.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't have single-handedly. So would I. He wouldn't have single-handedly destroyed the country in 2 weeks.
We don't know. He could have done that, but just looking at it, from what we saw of him, I like him a lot less than I liked Truss, right? Not that I liked Truss to begin with, right?
Yeah. I know they're all Tories, but in comparison, I would have argued Rishi Sunak is probably the lesser evil out of the two.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's pretty much picking between Sauron and fucking Morgoth. There's no difference whatsoever. They're just equally bad. I'm using Lord of the Ring references here because I've just been playing way too much Shadow of Mordor.
Bad example, to be fair, given Morgoth, a scary boy.
It's like picking between the devil and God. They're both evil motherfuckers.
Oh yeah, real talk. If God exists,
oh, can't wait to have that conversation.
He's an evil bastard.
Right. I was going on to a nice, amazing topic that I kind of added. It's basically how to stop another Boris Johnson, and most of it stems around the idea that our constitution very weird, legally speaking. We should codify some of that stuff, like cabinet responsibility and whatnot, and ministerial responsibility. I'd argue that has to be into law, personally, just to stop this ever happening again. Because you will just end up with another Liz Truss situation, which is so fun.
I don't know. I feel like it should be written somewhere that if there's going to be a change in prime minister, it should go to a general election.
Yeah.
At this point, it's bordering on dictatorship. The fact that only a small minority of conservative voters and the party itself get to actually vote on who the new prime minister is.
Yeah, and it's not democratic whatsoever. Yeah.
No, because probably the majority of the country didn't want either of them to, but we had no say in it.
Yeah.
And just like saying we've not had a prime minister finish their term in 10 years since the Cameron Clegg coalition.
Yeah.
It's bordering. It's getting out of a democracy there,
and more into dictatorship or bordering on what's the nice word? Oligarchy. Yeah, it seems like that.
So it's you're getting two options really. It's we're getting a new prime minister, but you get two choices. Both of them are the exact same, with the exact same moral values and have the exact same policies.
Yeah.
So nothing will change. I wish they would call a general election. They won't now. They know that they're going to lose. They're just going to ride it out. But she's going to lose the support of a party, and I'm surprised she hasn't already.
It's so oligarchical. It's like that. The Conservative Party are pretty much just the only people with power, and that just annoys me. It's why I'm arguing the Constitution has to change in some way, shape, or form. To start off with what Matthew said. 1, general election if the Prime Minister resigns. 2, there has to be some form of the cabinet code has to be put into law somewhere, just to put some sort of enforcement mechanisms on Parliament. We know we talk about Parliament is sovereign, but like what the government can do whatever it wants. It's stupid. Collective cabinet responsibility, that has to be another thing in there, like genuinely.
The one thing I respect, say, stop another Boris Johnson, but when Boris Johnson got into power, the second thing that he did was to call a general election to prove that he still had the support of the nation, which he won by a landslide.
Well, I agree with. It was the will of the people to vote him in, obviously. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He did the right thing there, and fair play to him.
But
I would take Boris back over Liz any day.
But my issue with UK politics is most of it being conventions and not actual law. Okay, I need to explain what conventions are. They're basically gentlemanly agreements, and I find that stupid as a concept for politics. Like, politics has to be governed by rules in some way, shape, or form. And if it's all based on gentlemanly agreements, well, guess what? You're going to get people like Boris Johnson who break those all the time. That's my main issue with it.
The main big problem I've found with British politics at the moment, and it's the one thing that has been really pissing me off at the moment, is we vote in for members of our local constituencies.
Yeah.
They're meant to be representing us. They're meant to be doing or saying what we feel as a constituency.
Yeah, yeah.
But they don't. They become a member of Parliament and then they do whatever they fucking want in Parliament. It's like, say, Chris Green is our local.
I knew you were going to say that nice name, Chris Green.
Yes,
I've heard
Chris Green.
I've heard everyone in West Horton doesn't like him in way, shape, or form. So
yeah, because the thing is that like, around our local community, we have a lot of like support for free school meals and all this sort of stuff. Just using it as one example, and obviously Chris Green is our local MP.
Yeah.
Seeing that, he should know that our constituency wants to go forward with like free school meals over summer and all this sort of stuff to help our local community. But yet he would go and he would vote against free school meals, and if our constituency didn't want Liz Truss, he would still vote for Liz Truss because it's him. It's just Chris Green. It's the Chris Green show. There's no
exactly.
It's the same for every. You may see in a Prime Minister's questions one MP stand up and say, my constituents are worried about this, this, and this.
Yeah, yeah.
But you will never get more than that, and usually they'll actually be like Labour or Lib Dems. They won't be Conservatives.
Yeah, because the backbench is all about pandering to the government, pretty much, to try and get funding support for like a school or something, and then the government can threaten to like cut funding to said school or whatever. Based on not voting a certain way on a government policy, which is again stupid.
It's just the one thing that really annoys me, because they're voted in to do right by their constituency, to say what his constituents, the people who he represents in the Parliament, that's what his job is. It's
not just based on the actual Conservative manifesto. Yeah, it's based on actual local issues as well. Yeah.
But he won't do anything like that. None of them will. They will just go and they'll just. It's them. That's it.
Yeah.
Their own ideology.
Yeah.
Which I think is very wrong. That's, again, it's not a democracy. No matter who you vote for. Yeah. Whoever you vote for, they're going to put their opinions before their actual, their constituents, who they're representing, who voted him in.
Yeah.
But yet we're fucking stupid enough to keep voting him in.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Anything else to add, guys? Apart from me and Matthew just going on a nice, 5-minute rant about this.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely? Hello?
They're both falling asleep.
You were going to say something, Jake.
No, I was just going to say I agree with all Matthew's points there.
Yeah.
They do make a lot of sense.
But I feel like that's the thing with a lot of places, not just the UK. Once the MPs get into office, they just go on their own career path and just forget what the point.
Well, it's worse in America. It's so careerist in America.
To be honest, politicians are the same everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Well, I would argue that in America, yes, it's a worse democratic system. It's beyond stupid that one area
it's
of
not
the country,
a democracy.
Yeah, that one area of the country would be worth more in terms of votes than another one. It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
However,
companies can just buy out their MPs.
It's a lot more about lobbying over there than it is appealing to the people.
That's what I was on about.
You can look at it in in their terms that although it may be fucked up and it may be a complete mess, they do have their own governments within each state, which they still have controls over their laws. You see, you have multiple states in the US that will have legalized weed, a lot of them that won't. And that'll all be voted on by the people who live in those states, which is
Yeah,
good.
you've got
Yeah.
state law and then you've got
Yeah,
national
state
law in the
Federal
US.
law, yeah.
Which is
Or
good, and I
federal,
completely
yeah.
agree with that. Because say, like, if Greater Manchester wanted something different from Liverpool or from Merseyside,
vote on that,
they should be able to
Like
do
the
it.
demographics of people living in each area is different, so
Yeah.
like it does make sense that different places would have different laws to accommodate the different people.
Yeah.
But in the same vein of things, not having consistent law causes a lot of problems when you're trying to
Yeah.
prosecute
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if someone commits a crime and then crosses state lines where that's not a crime, you have to go through the federal system to have them expedited to the state you want to prosecute them.
Well, I'd argue a good example of a country that's very similar to ours but does a federal system is Australia. Like, has its own federal police force, Australian National Police, but like the state laws are morely restricted to like local issues and not necessarily criminal law, which I'd argue is better.
However, yeah, but the actual government laws, obviously, it wouldn't be on a major scale,
Yeah.
like the crimes and stuff, because the actual government laws across the entire country would supersede anything the council said.
Yeah, well, it's like how the state of Victoria in Australia will, have one certain law, and it'll be completely different to New South Wales. It's which
Of course, if the government didn't agree with that, the actual
they can strike it
if
down. Yeah,
human rights or anything like that, it would be superseded, wouldn't it?
yeah,
Like all the main laws. So, yeah.
but yeah, it's an
Not a
interesting
bad idea
legal theory.
in theory. In practice, you run into a lot of problems that
Yeah.
it's not that they can't be resolved. It's just they're a bit of a pain sometimes, and it's why a lot of the times with justice systems like that, people get away with a lot more crimes.
Yeah,
I think it's more towards the point that obviously, if you think of like the states, I know they're huge, and the one like some states are bigger than the UK.
Yeah.
But like states, if you think of like governors of those states as like MPs, which is technically kind of what they are in terms of hierarchy, they have more control over what they say, and they actually do what's right by their state.
True, a little bit. I'd say governors are basically like prime ministers of their state.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Right,
Think about it like this: the president is like the king/queen, right? And then but they're like actual king/queen, so they've got power over the thing, right?
Yeah.
And then the governor of each state is like a mini prime minister, right?
Yeah.
I think the people of the country should have more vote over leaders and over what actually happens. And it feels like people's voices are not heard in Parliament because the MPs that actually represent them don't give a shit.
Self-serving. Yeah.
Yeah. They do what's right by them because they don't want to get sacked.
Yeah. Pretty much. It's
if
the pressure of
could directly petition the government, so they could go into the House of Commons and offer a topic for them to discuss in person. For example, I think that would go a long way to having more people's voices heard, right? Sure, it'd, give them a bit more work, and obviously they'd get to pick who they'd allow to come in, right?
Yeah.
But I don't see why we can't petition directly to our leadership like that instead of just through forms or representatives, right? I think having a mix of both is good. You have representatives to, represent their local areas, right? And then, people from that local area could directly petition to the government to be like, look, this isn't being addressed. Bring up an issue. Could you talk about this?
There's no fine line because the MPs are not saying what they need to, and people's voices not heard. Then the only next step is to start doing petitions and stuff, but then they don't get heard.
Yeah,
and then
they have a certain threshold. Yeah.
So
start
you know
doing,
how
protests, which can be very disruptive.
In a proper monarchy, right? A king or queen would have petitioners, right?
Yeah.
Ask them to do stuff. That's basically what I'm suggesting.
Yeah. Okay. Well. I guess we can wrap that. I mean, if we do want to talk about it in another episode, because it is pretty intriguing. But wow, everyone's favorite topic, geopolitics, guys. Holy crap! Where do we begin? Hey,
sabotaging the pipeline. Definitely not Russia, everybody.
yeah,
Lol.
Matthew, please,
Why would-
please do enlighten us on what's happening in Ukraine.
Oh god.
Yeah.
They're still making great counterattacks.
I mean, they took back another region.
They lost. Russia
they
lost
have,
Lyman,
They
didn't
know,
they?
haven't they? Yeah.
They've lost Lyman, which is a key.
Russia has
strategic-
annexed a bunch of states they have literally no control in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
for
cool.
political reasons.
It's not.
and-
It's
They
not
literally
valid.
just went, "We own that."
Yeah. Like what they
And
did with
everyone
Crimea in
completely ignored
2014.
them.
Yeah.
They're threatening to use low-grade nuclear weapons, but as someone pointed it out, they are probably the least equipped themselves to deal with low-grade nuclear weapons. They don't, because their army is entirely comprised of mercenaries, conscripts, and, just people they, picked up during the war, right?
Yeah.
And, they're untrained, they're not disciplined, and they don't have the equipment to deal with low-grade nuclear weapons. It's just sword rattling, basically.
Yeah.
Stop fighting against us or we'll do her bad. And let's be honest, as soon as a singular nuclear weapon is used, I don't think America's gonna give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
And they are fully aware of that. And they're just saying it to sound scary. I mean, hell, didn't Germany, after Russia did all the threatening, Germany sent them some more anti-aircraft defenses after the drone strikes they did on a few cities? Every step Russia takes is just going to get worse and worse for them, right?
I mean, there's this urge by Russia to push towards Transnistria and building a land bridge completely to cut off Ukraine from the Black Sea. Seems that way. But the fact that they're losing Lyman, in Donetsk, Luhansk, that's massive.
It was a hub for the Russian offensive. They were getting a lot of their
Mm-hmm.
supplies moving through there to their offenses in the south and stuff.
Yeah.
They've not got control of Donetsk anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though they've quote unquote annexed it, but that doesn't mean anything in international law. Because guess what? Russia's breaking international law anyway.
They also took the Ukrainian leader of the guy, the main guy who runs a nuclear power plant. They took him hostage.
I heard that.
Which they're not meant to do. Because
No,
the International
because-
Nuclear Proliferation Group pretty much says you're not meant to do that. But here we are, it's Russia breaking international law once again, which, they can only get away with it anyway because they're on the Security Council pretty much. If you're Saddam Hussein's Iraq, they could get away, everyone would be very angry at that. America.
They started making counterattacks again in the south, so they're pushing from the north into Luhansk, and they're also now pushing into Kherson.
This is the Ukrainians, right?
Ukrainians are pushing now into Kherson as well, and if you actually look at it, they're making a big mistake, Russia, again, because they're attempting to push through the north again to capture Kharkiv.
Recapture
Kharkiv through Belgorod, something like that.
It wouldn't surprise me, these new little
The issue is,
fleshy
by the time
conscripts.
they get through that, right, the Ukrainians are going to be dug in as fuck on Kharkiv, right?
Yeah.
And, because this is their homeland, they're protecting it with everything, whereas the Russians are, demoralized as fuck.
because
I
they
mean,
don't
we've all
want to be
seen that
fighting
video
there.
of the Russian soldiers calling Putin an obed, basically.
Yeah.
Because they're like, why the fuck are we here? They have to do what they, ordered to, otherwise they'd probably get shot, because we know they're not beyond war crimes.
Yeah.
They discovered a few mass graves and with signs of those people being tortured before they were put there. So
I'm not sure if you
Big
guys
fun.
heard of the weird Republic of Transnistria. Very unusual, to say the least. It's a nice little breakaway state in Moldova that likes to pretend it lives in the USSR and it wants to join Russia. So yeah, Putin pretty much sees that as an objective to also annex that if he gets the chance. It's dumb. Like, we're just going to see poor Russian people our age, getting sent to the front line in Ukraine for this, special military operation.
Oh yeah, dude,
Yeah, yeah.
because they have started like full on
Yeah.
conscription
Full mobilization. Yeah.
of their just everyone now. It's
Yeah.
not just people in their border states and everyone. It's everyone of age, right?
Like, there was a massive protest in Dagestan. It led to like people clashing with police. There are now people
and like
trying to-
everyone's
yeah.
leaving Russia.
Yeah, they're
at
trying to
this
cross
point.
into Georgia and like Kazakhstan. Like the queues are like
And
a day long. Like it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
and Mongolia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's dumb. Right? Yeah.
I
This is,
was
yeah.
I was sorry to cut you off. I was reading an article I thought was quite spicy. It's,
Hmm.
people are getting more and more violent against the Russian police.
Mm.
Like I was reading something about a man
Shouldn't
shooting
you?
the recruitment officer.
Even,
Oh yeah, they
even
blew up. Yeah.
even before this whole war kicked off, right? Russia has been dealing with severe rioting, and I mean, hell, you remember when they arrested the opposition leader on some bullshit charges?
Yeah,
Like, we know he's never seen the light of day again. Hell, he's probably already dead. We've never heard anything off of him.
It's pure internal instability, which I
Yeah.
don't think Putin's been dealing with personally.
As much propaganda as they put out, there's too much shit on the internet. You can't use
Yeah.
propaganda against people with access to the internet. It doesn't work. It doesn't matter how hard you limit the internet, people will find ways around it.
Yeah.
It's
It's like how people in
can't.
China literally go over the Great Wall just to make fun of Westerners that make fun of China. Like there's actual people that do that. It's kind of ridiculous, but like yeah, people find a way. It's stupid.
Like literally,
Most
you
of the
see the
time,
amount of Chinese people that participate in Western culture.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop them.
Mm.
As much as people would like, as much as they like to crack down on that shit in their own country, right?
Mm.
Chinese dude goes on holiday, never comes back, basically does whatever the fuck he wants. What they
Yeah.
can do, can't forcibly extradite someone. That's not how that works.
Yeah. Speaking of instability, Jake, you. Oh, right, Matt, you can continue. I was gonna
Sorry, I
move
was
on,
gonna
but
say before you do
Yeah.
move on, they actually have posted now, 12 hours ago, all of the confirmed, all the liquid, all the aircraft and all sorts of stuff that have been destroyed in over Ukraine recently.
To be fair,
so-
none of that is actually confirmed by outside sources. This is still a lot of what each side is saying.
Yeah,
So
of course, but
you do have to keep in mind some of it is them just trying to keep morale up.
yeah.
yeah, of course. However, I still believe them over anyone else at the moment because they're the only
Yeah,
ones that
yeah,
have
I
any
definitely
access
believe
to
them over
information.
Russia with the amount of misinformation Russia has been known to put out before.
Yeah, like 60,000 troops, Russian troops killed, 2,400 tanks, 5,000 personnel carriers.
Yeah.
2,400 tanks.
Yes.
We only
You're-
have 300 in this country.
Destroyed or captured, mind.
Mm.
Because,
Well,
we all
both.
know the farmers doing the funny.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
The issue
nearly,
is the reason we have so little tanks is 90% of our stuff is in the Air Force. And, I think we actually have, third most aircraft carriers or something.
yeah, but
like
if
that.
our 250 tanks went up against them 2,400 that got destroyed in Ukraine, we would probably still win that fight.
We wouldn't win, but we'd deal them significant losses, absolutely, because numbers are still important with stuff like tanks, even if our tech's a bit better. But like I said, we're mainly an Air Force Navy country anyway, because we don't really have a way to fight a ground war to begin with.
Yeah.
We're an island nation, for fuck's sake.
But I'd always bet on a well-trained army opposed to a
Absolutely.
large
Yeah,
army.
yeah.
Over
Every
a
single
large
war
army
going,
with
a
untrained
well-trained always
cons.
wins.
Yeah, like the fact that Russia lost 40% of its tank fleet just proves how inefficient it is.
I wouldn't even say that necessarily means the Ukrainians are better trained. Some of their forces are, but a lot of them aren't.
They
because a lot
have
of
been
them
trained
are
by
just like
NATO
people.
recently.
They've been getting additional training, yeah, but large armies suck versus guerrilla warfare. It is you have to make prep for that if you're a large army, lay some groundwork before you just invade someone, not just randomly go, we're invading Ukraine. Because guerrilla warfare is literally fucking terrible.
Yeah.
If you're fielding a large army and not a strong one, right?
Like America in Vietnam. Wow. Crazy. It's almost like history repeats itself.
And we were talking about it last episode. I think Matt brought up how the Ukrainians are changing signs. They're using paper maps instead of GPS ones and stuff. They know the layout of their own country way better than the Russian soldiers do.
Yeah.
And it's a massive advantage to you fighting on the home field.
Yeah.
And like you said, America made that same mistake.
Mm.
They have
Vietnam.
all the logistical lines as well. They have all the so much so different many ways to get logistics and ammunition to the Ukrainian front lines, but the Russian front lines is very limited at the moment.
And I'd argue this is probably even worse than Vietnam in some ways for the Russians.
Yeah.
Because
or Afghanistan.
Unlike then, nobody is on their side. Everyone is openly clear about giving help to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Hell, even China is having a go at them about it.
Yeah, and India. Yeah, go figure. Right, okay.
Some of their biggest allies are giving them the L for this. It's just...
Yeah, it's really funny.
It's just sad at this point.
It's basically showing Putin shot himself in the foot. Yeah.
It's like watching someone kick the shit out of a child in an orphanage, dude. Holy shit.
Yeah. Right, moving on with geopolitics. Jake, you mentioned something about instability in Iran. I'm curious. I need a bit of context about that. Yes. Yeah.
Iran might be boogling soon.
Well,
they're already boogling. Because,
what does that mean?
Iran's a very
revolution.
Different. It's a very different place.
It's
very religious. It's very conservative. And anything that doesn't follow these conservative rules is just dealt with disgustingly.
You are taken in for re-education.
What happened was a woman didn't wear her headdress properly, and the police just beat the shit out of her and killed her. It's absolutely disgusting, and because of that, people from all over the country are protesting. And protesting a country like that means you must have serious balls doing that. Because the police will just open fire on you.
Isn't this the quote-unquote morality police that in Iran to enforce Sharia law? Or something stupid,
So, the thing is, right, they have done riots before over shit like this, right? Because this has been going on for fucking years, right? And I mean, it doesn't really have to be a severe fucking infraction either. You could legit have a strand of hair out of your fucking scarf of your woman, right? And then beat the living shit out of you, right? To re-educate you, right? But this is by far the worst instance of rioting and just large scale destruction, really. A lot pretty much everybody in every class of living there has just said fuck it. This we've had enough, whereas previously it's been specific groups of people like the Kurds or the Turks or stuff like that.
Oppressed groups
right?
in Iran,
But even the rich people are having enough of this shit, right? And they're out on the street throwing Molotovs at the police, dude. Tear gas and shields are great and all. Until someone throws a brick at your fucking head and your helmet breaks, right?
Yeah.
Unless they are willing to open fire on civilians, which I'll be honest, 90% of military personnel will probably not be willing to do. Some of them will, absolutely, right? Most of them probably won't because they know people in that crowd, right?
Yeah.
That's the scary thing about a revolution, right? Because the problem is the current leader of Iran is completely inflexible about these rules. Previously, the previous leaders have been sort of, modernizing a little bit, letting people do reasonable things. But the current leader of Iran went straight hard-ass fucking traditionalism, and it's just bit him in the ass, really.
Yeah. Is this still
not
Al-Khamenei?
a good look. I think so. I'm not sure.
Second supreme leader of Iran. Yeah. Of course, they've only had two. It's a Islamic Republic, guys. I swear.
Yeah. The previous leader actually busted out quite a few reforms, to be honest. But this dude is just a piece of shit, really.
Yeah.
Because remember, religious repression is very good, healthy for your country. Yes, for sure.
President Ibrahim Raisi. My bad. Whatever. I just butchered that pronunciation anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's not like what is Iran gonna do about me doing that anyway? What, they're gonna drone strike me? Good luck with that one.
Mr. Obama.
Yeah.
He lives in London. Drone strike that.
Yeah.
I
I mean, it's not like I'm pretty sure I'm banned from China anyway, considering the stuff I said about China. So, whatever. Just be very quiet if I visit like Shanghai.
Xi Hanqing, let's go.
I can suggest a very quick topic on geopolitics.
Go on.
What do you all think about the state of Italy at the moment?
Oh yeah, they just voted in a far right government, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, they've gone back fascist.
Yeah. What's this, Hearts of Iron 4? What the fuck is going on?
This is where I hit you with the technically fascism isn't actually far right, but I get what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
It's not a good look. Yeah. Absolutely not.
Of course
right?
Not.
But I think we'll just have to wait and see. A, because I don't really speak Italian, right? So we're just being fed like the popular line from we don't know a lot of the internal situation or how the people living there feel about it, right? If the people living there think that's the right government for them, whatever, right? We'll just have to see what they get up to, really. Since
Sorry.
Keep an eye on their policies, basically.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what's happened to this? I haven't really heard about this.
Oh, so there was basically a general election in Italy, and they voted in a far-right government. Yeah.
Yep.
Is that the Brothers of Italy or something? Yeah.
They're very anti-LGBT. They're anti-abortion. Even though it's a woman who runs the country now, they're relatively against women's rights. And they've made it all very clear, and Italy have still voted in that government.
Yeah. Yep.
I think
it kind of reminds me of Trump in that way, and that perhaps they're voting in someone who, like, different in the hopes that things will change.
Yeah, like this weird movement to
like,
the right.
Regardless of how, rude and disgusting they are, right? They just want to, try and make a difference in their country and prevent it from stagnating.
Yeah,
right?
they're the most nationalist people, aren't they? Like, patriotic.
Yeah.
The people on the right tend to be more nationalist as well, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying there aren't people on the left who are nationalist as well, because you can be left and a nationalist even if it's a bit weird.
Yeah.
But the trend goes further right you get, the more nationalist your beliefs become. So maybe a lot of these people were voting in the nationalist side of this party rather than
the fascistic side. Yeah.
Yeah, and they obviously probably while they have been open about it, I doubt they were advertising the fact that they hate women or whatever, right?
No, the whole campaign was advertising to end, because Italy's going through going through a living crisis, our costs are going up and they're struggling.
Like every other country in existence currently, yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of far right parties across the EU. I think the Swedish far right party has made gains. It's the second biggest party in Sweden now.
Yeah.
It's just far right parties all over the place.
They've been the Swedish far right party anyway. The reason they've gained a lot of ground is just because of how lax the previous or the current government's been with immigration. And I mean, this isn't the good kind of immigration, where they're accept refugees that they can actually house. It's more just sort of come in, which is I've got nothing against accepting refugees, but if you've got nowhere to house them, you're just actively making it worse for them.
Isn't Sweden officially the rape capital of the world as well now?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Got the highest level of rape.
And I mean,
cases.
I mean, I know a kid who lives in Sweden, right? He hangs around our group sometimes when we're playing games, and I mean, he's talking about how like he lives in one of the nicer regions that he isn't in this situation, but he's talking like over there on their equivalent of eBay, you can buy like bulletproof vests, right? Because gun crime has become a real problem in specific regions. Like if you live in certain places, you are advised not to go outside without wearing a bulletproof vest.
Nice.
That is mad.
fucking
Yeah.
ridiculous, right? And I can see why
Would
the
not feel
far right
safe,
party
no?
would gain, ground basing their, policies on preventing that, which the normal government should be working towards as well. But they fall into that trap of they're trying to stick to an ideal they can't possibly enforce. It's good to accept refugees and immigrants and stuff like that, right? Absolutely. But you have to know where your limit is.
You need the infrastructure to support them. Yeah.
You need the infrastructure to support them, and you need to not abandon your own people as well. You need to, strike an accord.
Yeah. It's about.
Otherwise, you're going to run into problem, right? Because while having multiple cultures in an area is good for growth, right?
Yeah.
You also have to integrate that slowly into your environment.
like
Culture
that's one of
shock
the
is
things.
very real.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, one of the things the UK has done well in that regard. I mean, obviously it's been slated for like these refugees are on the Calais border, but we don't have the infrastructure for them yet.
Yeah, and
It's like in terms of doctors and stuff, we struggle with it nowadays around our area. Like,
but we don't outright deny them either.
no, but I mean, the thing is that they're already in France. I mean, that sounds really horrible. They could stay in France for now. It's not a bad country. In fact, arguably, it's better than the UK at the moment. It's a very questionable thing. If I was a refugee, I think I'd rather stay in the EU than go to the UK at the moment. The only
I think
benefit
the
is
issue,
free
the issue
healthcare.
is, right, and like from being part of the community that a lot of these people are from, right? There's this ideal of the UK being this like strong pillar of the West, really, right? A really strong country.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people, unfortunately, they're uneducated because they've just not had the chance to,
Actually
get
see
an
what it's
education,
like.
right? So there's two methods they either go through the illegal method or the legal method, right? Legal method is they learn some basic English, right? They come over while, get married to someone over here, right? Use that little, I won't really call it a loophole, but use that, like,
Yeah.
bit of legality there. And, like, they, move to the same community over here that they had back home. And, just work and send money back to support their families, right? And a lot of those people don't ever leave those communities, right?
Yeah.
They stay as insiders in their communities and, work
'Cause there's
themselves
lack
to
of
the bone. They
integration,
have to go
yeah.
back. And there's just no integration, exactly, right? And this is... It's not all of the community, don't get me wrong, because there are some very well-educated people that come over, right, and, make a living. But a large majority of it is, like, those kind of people, right?
Well, I say this as, like, a second-generation immigrant, like, because my parents are from the Philippines, like, they've integrated very well to British culture. But, like, they still try and maintain that cultural link to home, if that makes sense.
It's healthy to have a cultural identity. It's not healthy to isolate yourself within it.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah. Which I kind of get with this whole far right-wing surge in mainland Europe, which is concerning.
It's concerning, yes, but you got to understand that these
It's
people.
It's a reaction. To poor government.
Yeah, they're being pushed into that direction. Like, this country will get pushed into that direction if a party rose up to promise to fix all the issues we have and actually have a good agenda and a good
And to be fair, I mean, quite
budget
recently,
and
Labour
stuff.
got a massive boost. I mean, 56% polling currently, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And
That's
like,
mad,
yeah, like they got a massive boost with Liz Truss's absolute abomination of a budget, right?
Yeah. Which, oh my god. Like, it's the fact that as soon as they announced that budget, pretty much just dipped. Yeah, ridiculous.
There's
What was
a complete lack of trust.
Yeah.
Or lack of trust, should I
I
say?
mean, she's been the prime minister for like 2 weeks, and she was making like major changes that affect the economy. I mean,
Doing good
this
ones.
is what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, but like, if there was a party that rose up in the UK that sort of said the same things that, say, the ones in Italy did, that they could fix everything, and they actually had a good way to do it, and they proved it.
They had like an action plan.
Yeah, an action plan and stuff like that, which is a lot of parties don't have at the moment.
Yeah.
Labour are getting there with one, but the problem is with Labour is they do everything, all of their policies and stuff come from just spiting the Conservatives.
Yeah.
Like, yes,
It's very reactionary. Yeah.
We're going to do the complete opposite, and then there's another policy.
Parties suffer from that immensely, though. They they can't compromise on anything ever.
Yeah.
And like it just makes them look really petty, right? And like what people are looking for in leadership is not petty squabbling, right?
Yeah.
They're looking for someone who can actually, make a difference in their lives.
Which I get this whole apathy to politics now. It does make sense looking at it from this perspective. Yeah.
It looks fucking hopeless to someone who isn't really looking outside and isn't really into politics, right?
Yeah.
Just to reiterate, unless you're into politics, it's very hard to see how you can affect big decisions. And when you see the people making those big decisions run the country in the ground, and you've seen them do it time after time after time through several general elections, right? You just stop giving a shit naturally, because you're like, what's the point? It's going to be the same anyway, right? And that's the trap a lot of the people are in currently. I mean, hell, as far as local elections go, I'm gonna actively look into stuff, but I couldn't really give a shit as far as general elections go anymore. Pointless, right? I've fallen into that trap a little myself. I mean, hell, I'm probably going to vote Green Party in the general election, because fuck it, I don't want to commit my vote to any of the other two. They're all shit.
The problem is that this is the problem at the moment, because a lot of people I know that have actually done that, but the thing is that we need change in a party, and if you don't vote for one of these two main parties, this is the problem. It's just a wasted vote. You're just going to end up with another.
That's a logical fallacy in itself, though. You have to vote those two parties, or it's a wasted vote, because a lot of people think that way. We will always be stuck in those two parties, right? And it's not a problem you can solve, really. Like it's like the whole idea. Like, what if we all just didn't vote, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Someone will key in a vote. It's the same with what if a new third party appears that is genuinely decent? A lot of people would be too afraid to make that jump and will vote just to do flagship parties, and we'll be stuck in the same problem.
You've got the two main parties, obviously the two opposite ends of the spectrum, but there is no middle ground. You've got
the Lib Dems, but why would you
far
vote
right?
The issue is there will never be a good middle ground with partisan politics the way they are currently, right? Hell, where human nature is. A lot of people will base their identity around something, and when politics are involved, people will just base their identity around left or right.
Yeah.
There isn't really a strong movement of people identifying with the center to begin with.
Well, this is the problem, is that every other party, they're a joke. They're all a joke. It's just the Green Party. If you want to go Green Party, they don't have any real ideas on how to run a country. It's all just And you've got Lib Dems, who are very we like what the Conservatives are doing, and we also like this what the Labour are doing. So it is a middle ground, but they're just closeted Conservatives that have no idea how to.
I'm going
run
to say
countries.
they are not a middle ground. They are the idea of a middle ground that doesn't exist. They are 90% Conservatives, and they agree with Labour on 3 points.
10%. Yeah.
It's just there's no. As far as it goes in terms of parties, it is one of the two main parties. Unless a new one appears, it's either in England you've got Conservative Labour, in Wales you've got Conservative Labour, Plaid Cymru, you've got
Scotland's
SNP.
got SNP. And
Yeah,
to be fair,
pretty much Labour's dead there.
don't really consider like the country-specific parties. Really, they're pretty much never gonna be in the running anyway, just because of the way our votes work, right? Number of people just isn't enough to vote those people in.
Yeah.
To like big parliament anyway.
Obviously, but obviously they do have their own, like they have their own governments in their respective countries.
Yeah. Like we've just fallen into a mire really with no really easy way out, right? We're just sinking below the surface currently, and it's like I was saying, even if a centrist party appears that has several good ideas, lots of people are probably not going to jump ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'd be down personally to do that, but I don't think a lot of other people would be on board just because of the amount of times we've been burned by this, right? Yeah. It's very easy to become cynical when everything looks hopeless, right? It's very easy.
God, we're on 1 hour now. Damn. Okay.
Nice.
What do we want to talk about now? It's either we can do the history shell or we can talk about Stoicism.
I don't know what Stoicism is, if you want to enlighten me.
Alright.
It's bullshit, but I'll let Nero explain before I have a go at it.
Really? Okay. Well, I know. It's helped with my mental health, really. I mean, a lot of people say it's a dead philosophy.
Fine.
But it's fine. About...
If it helps you personally, that's fine, but I take several issues with it myself.
Yeah. It's kind of based around the idea of self-discipline and self-control with, like, actions and whatnot. How you should try and live, like, a somewhat virtuous life, if that makes sense. Morals and whatnot. Typical philosophy, mumbo-jumbo. Everything's based around natural law, which is kind of something I agree with based on how I view morality of humans specifically.
Everything you do has meaning as well,
pretty much.
As far as Stoicism is concerned.
It's like it's very manifesty, if that makes sense. Like
it's like manifest destiny type thing, right? You
agree with it, yeah.
What you put in is what you get out, right? Yeah. If you have responsibilities, you get stuff out of those responsibilities, which that on its own isn't a bad idea. Where I take issue with it, right, is its discussions of meaning. There are plenty of completely meaningless actions, right? I think we can all agree on that, right?
Well, yeah.
This whole idea that everything you do has some sort of cosmic significance, right? Complete bullshit.
Well, that's not. It's, to be fair, it's kind of based as well how you interpret
exaggerating
Stoicism,
a little bit, right? I'm exaggerating a little bit, but just to illustrate my point a little, right? And then it's that whole idea that everything you do affects the outcome of it. There are a lot of things that are completely out of your control as well.
Well, that's what Stoicism's about. It's more about controlling your own actions and emotions, and things that are outside of your control you can't necessarily
That's what I mean. Your actions and emotions to some degree are also outside of your own control, and we've proved that empirically, right? Mental health is the clearest thing about that, right?
Yeah.
While some people have the willpower to, push through that kind of thing, there are plenty of people who have like mental health issues that completely distort their view of reality, right?
Yeah.
Stoicism isn't really going to help a schizophrenic, right?
Yeah.
As an example.
Well, I'm taking it more from like a generalist perspective, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and
I'm not sure if you've heard of the Latin phrase memento mori, which is about remember death. It's more about trying to... For me, the way I interpret it is like Stoicism's about trying to live life, like, let's say tomorrow might be your last day, like, trying to live it to, like, the fullest, if that makes sense. That's pretty much my interpretation.
Philosophy in general...
is a touchy subject,
It's a touchy subject to begin with, right?
Yeah.
And, like, different types of philosophies keep different types of people running, right?
Yeah.
I mean... I've read into quite a bit of philosophy, right, to the point where I can't take, like, one objective philosophy, like, one cohesive philosophy very seriously, right?
Yeah.
Reason being, a lot of them cover the same things, but it's people analyzing life in general from their own experiences, right?
Yeah.
And when you're analyzing something from your own experience, observer bias is a big problem. It's impossible to objectively analyze experiences
and follow one base
can't be
philosophy.
done.
Yeah.
Right? And every single philosophical viewpoint is built on one central idea.
Yeah.
And that alone for me sort of devalues it a little bit, right? Because
Yeah, I get
life
that.
is significantly more complicated than one or two core values.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, we know that emotions themselves are affected by chemical reactions in our body, right? Neurotransmitters and the like. So, like, while I can understand why Stoicism would help some people, get your life in order, get
Yeah,
things in order
that's
for
for me,
yourself,
yeah.
right? Lock down your own life, and then, you'll be able to affect other things first.
Yeah.
Me personally, because of the amount of things outside of your control, simply focusing on yourself isn't a good idea, I think, right? You've got to maintain a lot of how do I put this? You've got to keep in mind that a lot of the things you try to get in control will continually move outside of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more based on an objective. Yeah, I get that. Objectivity. Yeah.
If you take philosophy as ideally, this is where I would like to be, that is probably the healthiest way to
Yeah. That.
use it, right?
I don't go as far as saying Stoicism is going to rule my life. No, God no.
Exactly.
Like it's just for me it's just like a not necessarily a belief system. It's more like a code to follow, if that makes sense. Like
philosophy and religion are quite intertwined in that respect, right? Because a lot of religious people like to argue that we wouldn't have morals without religion, which is complete asinine bullshit.
Because
right?
my argumentation of natural
philosophy,
laws it's based on
philosophy literally exists, right? And plenty of cultures with no interaction with each other have, certain laws that are,
based around morality.
set.
Yeah.
Religious people will take this to argue like, oh look, this is proof of God. No, it's not.
It's just the human condition. Yeah.
What it's proof of is that we are social creatures that have realized that we have a higher chance of survival when we're in a group.
Yeah.
Each society that approaches these set of rules approaches them from a different perspective. What is evil and what is good is defined entirely by a specific society. The Aztecs committed human sacrifice, right? Does that mean that they were, that they just ran around killing people, or that, their society was worse than another one, they were more evil or more good?
No.
In our standards, that'd be evil as fuck, right? But in their standards, that's perfectly fine. They're appeasing their sun god, right?
Yeah.
To prevent the masses from starving or whatever, right? I'm not entirely sure what the Aztec religion did. I'm not a archaeologist or anything.
Yeah.
Or a historian, right? But you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, you
right?
can't make the argumentation that morals are based on God, because humanity is naturally going to have moral values anyway, which is kind of why I subscribe to Stoicism in the first place, pretty much.
Any species with intelligence.
Yeah.
Any species with intelligence. Yeah. And philosophy is along the same vein of religion, right? Different societies will approach different problems in different ways, and that leads to different viewpoints. And there you go. And I mean, we saw there are plenty of bad philosophies out there. Nihilism being the number one, when literally the creator of the philosophy really said, "This is fucking stupid."
Yeah, I used
I
to be
was
so
depressed
nihilistic.
as
It was
fuck when I
such
made
an
this.
awful. Yeah, it was such an awful plot for me at one point. Being a nihilist is awful.
And the whole idea that all of your actions will have no meaning in the greater cosmos, well, obviously, damn, but why should that affect you, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, hell, right? This is sort of depressing, right? But humans have affected the universe on a cosmological scale. Global warming.
Yeah.
Pollution, right? Running our planet into the ground is a very real example of nihilism being complete bullshit.
Yeah. Damn, 1 hour 8 minutes. Right. That's the new
sending
record.
satellites into space, you know? Like,
Yeah.
we've got plenty of examples of affecting the universe on a cosmological scale, right?
Mm.
It may be infinitesimally small, but it's there.
Oh, well, that was an interesting wrap, I guess. I guess we can leave it
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, that
We,
was...
we did ramble quite a bit,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's fine.
But we don't care, you know.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, we got pretty much everything done. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the end of this episode. So, bye.
Oh, L plus ratio plus life is meaningless, X day.
Oh, yeah, nihilism's kind of cringe, lol.